So you're interested in purchasing a Hyundai Kona but don't know whether to purchase a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive model. Well, today I want to show you the exact differences between the two because there's actually more difference than you might think. So I want to start more on a surface level on the inside, along with the buttons that go along with the all-wheel drive systems and kind of control the drive modes and everything like that. And then we'll dive into more of the mechanical differences, again, that you might not be aware of. Now, all the items I will be discussing in this video will pertain to the 2022 and newer Hyundai Kona, and it may also pertain to the older models as well, as the Kona is still technically in its first generation, even though it just received a refresh for 2022. So in front of me, I have two 2023 Konas, both the base SEL trim levels. This one on my right is a front wheel drive, while the one on my left is an all-wheel drive. So I want to keep this kind of raw. So we're going to get on the inside, start both of these vehicles up, and see if there are any differences in terms of the drive modes, and also show you some of the button differences along with the all-wheel drive system. So we'll go ahead and start it up. All your drive mode selection and all-wheel drive buttons will be down near the shifter in the center console area. Here's your drive mode select. All Konas will have this, no matter front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And to the right, you will normally have your center differential lock, which will send power 50-50 front and rear. Now this one, obviously being front-wheel drive, doesn't have that button. So we'll take a look at the drive modes available. We have normal, sport, and smart here in this front-wheel drive. And then once we get over to the all-wheel drive, we'll see what that has in terms of drive modes. But that's basically the difference here in the center console, is that there's no center differential lock in the front-wheel drive. And of course, your drive modes, like I mentioned, normal, sport, and smart. So take a look down near the shifter once again. It looks basically the same outside of having that center differential lock button, again, for the all-wheel drive system. Now take a look at our drive modes. You can see we still have normal, sport, and smart drive modes. So the drive modes are going to be identical no matter if you get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, except when you go ahead and push the center differential lock button. You can see over here on the right side of the gauge cluster, there's a little four-wheel drive with the lock icon, and that power is being spent 50-50 front and rear. So now we know on the inside, the differences is basically limited to whether or not it has a center differential button, again, front wheel drive versus all wheel drive. Now the next couple differences are going to be surprising to some people, and that is because the rear suspension layout is entirely different if you get front wheel drive or all wheel drive, and the brake sizes are actually different between the two. So take a look at the back of both these vehicles. You really won't see any apparent difference until you look underneath of them. So starting out here on the front wheel drive Kona, you'll find a torsion beam rear suspension, which is essentially a solid axle that connects both the left and right wheels to one another. You can see here on the left side the shock as well as the spring perch. There's the rear muffler. And following along to the right side, you can see it is all connected as one piece. Now, not to say that both wheels are tied together, but it moves somewhat independently versus that of a fully independent suspension that you'll get on the all-wheel drive. So if we take a look underneath the all-wheel drive, you'll see the muffler is in a slightly different position. You can see the entire rear suspension design is totally different. So you have independent rear suspension, which means each wheel can travel independently from one another and is not influenced in any way versus the left or the right side and vice versa. There's the shock and spring perch layout, as well as the rear differential that will split the power, to each left and right wheel. So again, that is one of the big differences between the front wheel drive as well as the all-wheel drive, is the rear suspension design. Now you might be asking which one is technically a better setup. Well, most people would answer the multi-link independent suspension is a better design because it allows the wheels, again, to travel independently from one another and is not influencing the other side at all. Now the torsion beam is kind of a semi-independent suspension where each side can move up and down freely on its own. However, the other side is going to be influenced in some manner. If the left side goes up, the right side is going to be influenced at least a little bit in some manner. So that is why it's kind of called a semi-independent rear suspension versus the multi-link, which is fully independent. And I would say the multi-link definitely offers a slightly better ride in most cases. Now, I'm not exactly sure here on the Kona which one would offer the better ride, but I would assume the multi-link, with its inherent benefits of each wheel can travel independently, will offer a slightly better ride, maybe a little bit better driving dynamics. But overall, they are both going to be fairly robust. There's not going to be any structural differences or anything like that. And the torsion beam is mainly used for, again, its lightweight, its simplicity, and just cost to manufacture. So the next mechanical difference between the front wheel drive and all wheel drive is going to be the brake size. Now, I was actually unaware of this before I kind of did the research into this video because I knew the suspension differences were kind of something that Hyundai did for quite some time, but the brake size I was not aware of. So on the SE as well as all SEL Konas, you actually get larger front and rear brake rotors than that of the front wheel drive. Now, if you get up to the N line as well as the limited trim, all of them receive the larger brake rotors no matter if you get front wheel drive or all wheel drive. So this just pertains to the SE as well as the SEL trims, is that you do get larger brakes on the all wheel drive versus the front wheel drive. So once again, the front wheel drive is on my right and the all wheel drive is on my left. They're going to be 1 inch larger diameter rotors on the all wheel drive. So you can see a difference inside the wheel. If you kind of compare the two, these are going to be 12-inch in diameter versus 11-inch here on the front wheel drive. And out back, I believe you're going to get 0.8-inch larger rotors. So here's the front wheel drive once again. Here's the all-wheel drive. Now the key difference that I can tell is here, if you look in the dust shield, the gap between the rotor and the dust shield, you can see a gap difference between the two. It is fairly minor and kind of hard to tell, but up front you can definitely tell a difference. And you can see the difference in the suspension design looking through the wheel here. You can see the suspension goes all the way across to the other side, kind of a single piece there. If you look on this side, you can kind of see that each side is going to work independently, just a totally different layout versus that of the other one. And again, that is one difference that I was actually unaware of before filming this video, is that you do get larger brakes on the SE and SEL with all-wheel drive versus that of the front-wheel drive. Now, how both of these things might impact the actual performance of the vehicle in terms of braking, kind of stopping distances, everything like that, I'm not quite aware of. Now, obviously, both having four-wheel disc brakes are going to perform very well overall. I don't think the suspension is going to play a huge factor in terms of the stopping distance, but the larger rotors, both front and rear, should, in theory, make the all-wheel drive one, even though it weighs just a hair more, stop just a little bit better than that of front-wheel drive. But again, that is pure speculation. I don't have any data to actually back that up. Again, the front-wheel drive is 165 pounds lighter, actually. So for that fact alone, it might actually perform just as well, kind of offsetting the brake size differences between the two. And finally, I kind of want to wrap up with the differences, I guess, between the SE, SEL, and that of the N-Line and the Limited, because if you guys are in the market, there is a difference in terms of the drivetrain, engine, and transmission. So if you're looking at an SE or SEL, you're going to have the 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder paired to an IVT or CVT type of transmission. Again, either the front wheels or all-wheel drive if you option that. And if you're looking at the N-Line or the Limited, you're automatically going to get the 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. So these are quite different drivetrains. Obviously, the 1.6-liter turbo in the higher trims is going to produce more power, but again, it also comes with that dual-clutch transmission. So some people might be shy away from that for that reason alone, but just keep that in mind, is that they're going to drive quite differently based on not only the engine and transmission, but maybe also the suspension design as well. So you can get all of these trim levels, both front wheel drive and all wheel drive, and they are going to be, like I said, have the same differences in terms of the rear suspension, the torsion beam, as well as the multi-link independent. Now, all of the N-Line as well as the Limited get the larger rotors, but the SE and SEL will get different brake sizes depending if you get front wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And if you do option all-wheel drive on your Kona, it's a $1,500 option across the board, no matter what trim you get, all the way from the SE to the fully equipped Limited. It's going to be $1,500 to equip all-wheel drive. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful if you are in the market kind of looking for the differences between the front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive Hyundai Konas. If you guys enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please hit that like button. It greatly helps out. If you guys are not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications. And again, if you're interested in a new Hyundai Kona, I have tons of videos and walkarounds of basically every trim of the Kona here on the channel. So make sure to check that out. I'm sure you guys will find that helpful. Now let me know down in the comment section below which Kona and trim level you're leaning towards after watching this video if you happen to be in the market. Now, like I said, I personally think a lot of the lower trim levels are a good value judgment in terms of equipping all-wheel drive, but as you get up there in terms of price point, it definitely gets a little bit pricey for a Limited all-wheel drive in the low $30,000 range. But let me know down in the comment section below which Kona you might be interested in. So once again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.